The United States was supposed to be in a recession, at least technically. It witnessed 2 consecutive quarters of GDP contraction. That's how a recession is generally said to have set foot in an economy. However, the third quarter GDP numbers coming out from the United States have indicated a reversal in that trend. How is that possible? Nobody expected the United States to recover so fast, right? So, what's really going on? It turns out the United States has been earning big money out of the misery of the world. In fact, Europe's crisis has proven to be a boon for Washington, with the help of which it appears to be tiding over its own economic crisis. In what is being seen as a ray of hope on an otherwise dark horizon, USA's GDP growth jumped 2.6% in the third quarter ending September. President Joe Biden jumped on the news, which came as a much-needed relief ahead of the crucial midterm elections. Biden said, and I quote, "For months, doomsayers have been arguing that the US economy is in a recession. But with today's third quarter GDP report, we got further evidence that our economic recovery is continuing to power forward." However, such celebrations may prove to be premature. News of GDP growth entering the positive side of the spectrum does not remain very pulsating once you figure out what drove this growth. The latest GDP numbers reflect a 14.4% surge in exports and a 6.9% drop in imports, which caused the US trade deficit to drop dramatically. That ended up adding 2.8 percentage points to GDP growth. Driving this growth are the US's gigantic volumes of oil and natural gas exports around the world, especially to Europe. The US has emerged as Europe's knight in shining armor in its time of crisis. It has become Europe's largest fuel supplier. Combined US exports of crude oil and refined petroleum products surged to 11.4 million barrels a day last week. The shipments were almost 2 million barrels per day higher than the previous week. Selling oil and gas to other countries, especially those in Europe, is now more profitable for American traders and shippers than it is domestically. So, while USA's own fuel inventories are running at record seasonal lows, the country continues to export huge amounts of energy resources abroad. The fact that American economic recovery is being driven by energy exports to Europe suggests that calls by Washington for the world to abandon Russian fuel were made keeping in mind all the financial gain USA could make itself. Europe is yet to abandon Russian crude oil completely, and yet it finds itself engulfed in a crisis. However, the USA has stepped in to fill in whatever vacuum it can. It is replacing Russian energy with its own fuel across Europe. The US is charging Europe exorbitant rates for energy sources. It hasn't been able to even nearly compete with the amount of natural gas Russia provided to Europe, but that hasn't stopped Washington from clocking in big profits. This begs the question, did the United States know it could turn Europe's energy crisis into an opportunity for itself?